the fuck is good? How y'all doing? How y'all feeling? Welcome back to the fucking stream. Shout out to Phantom. Shout out to Polymarket for making this entire thing possible. It is so good to see so many beautiful faces with me here on the stream. What do y'all think today? You've seen like the first little sliver of my repertoire. You haven't seen nothing really yet, but I decided I would ease into it a little. I would give you all something slight to kick it off. What do you think with my intro fit for today? How does this rank out of 10? What do you think? I got don't worry about what's up top, but it's really about what's on the bottom that matters. We got the loafers too. We got the tan on the... Ah, man, it feels so good to be back. It feels so good to be back. All right, look, we have a very special stream today. My voice hurt. I feel like I've been sick for like a button the top. No, I can't because it has like there's like a weird like orange stitching in the inside. It doesn't look good. It's like a turtleneck type of feel. I like what I have on right now. I'm gonna keep it. Welcome back to the stream, man. It is so good to see so many beautiful faces. We have a very special stream today. Okay, we have so many fucking things to talk about today. First and foremost, the war is maybe the most over it's ever been. What is the number one rule of this stream? Okay, it's maybe the most ever it's ever been today. Now, does that mean over? Not necessarily. There's early, late, and late. And I don't know exactly if we're over, or if we're just over, but somewhere in between, it feels like we're the most over that we've ever been. Stocks, moonshot, oil, doom shot. And God, I feel for the oil longers because I always felt like their day was gonna come, and it's looking less and less and less likely. Now, the thing that's so fascinating about it is that this war ending news comes at the precipice of the biggest IPO in the history of markets. SpaceX. First tick will go live tomorrow. I still am getting used to this whole IPO thing. Okay. I had a Cerberus long that I sold because it was 9:30 market open and it wasn't moving. And I'm like, what's going on? Well, I had no idea that just because trading goes live on this day doesn't mean it's going to go live at market open. So I don't know if we're supposed to know what time SpaceX goes live, but the way I'm thinking we're going to do the stream today is we're going to do the intro. I'm going to talk about the fact that I went to the greatest NBA Finals game in the history of the world yesterday. And then we're going to do market close, and we're going to talk about SpaceX. We have about an hour and 15 minutes, and then we are going to have maybe the most knowledgeable trader lore person in the world, Jack Schwager, is going to come on the stream, author of Market Wizards. It just came out. The Short Bear is in here, by the way. The Short Bear started trading futures when he was like 12. Okay. And his biggest position right now is Ether. And Jack's going to come on, and we're going to do a complete 180. And for all the people that are into when I talk about the books and I talk about trading lore and you're into the stuff that I'm into, it's going to be just unbelievable. And then once he gets off, we're going to do some miscellaneous SpaceX prep. I'm just going to do as much as we can. I felt like the reason we did get Alexander yesterday was to just cover the whole full stack of what's to come with SpaceX. I'm not you, but in my brain, I think we did a pretty damn good job of that yesterday. And so we're going to do another damn good job of it today. And tomorrow is going to be one of the biggest. I mean, tomorrow is going to be a day that I think remember forever. Whether it goes good, whether it goes bad, whether it goes somewhere in between, you are going to remember where you were, what you were doing, and how you traded the SpaceX IPO probably till the end of time. I talk a lot of smack in here, but GA was truly helpful, so thank you so much. You're welcome, brother. That's what I'm here to do. I welcome the smack talk, unless you fucking really piss me off. I welcome it though, because I'm no genius. So, anyways. If you're watching on YouTube and Twitter and you would like to chat, twitch.tv/threadguy. It's the only chat that I read. I would like to read other chats, but they don't look good. They don't feel good. I can only do one at a time. If you're wondering how I'm positioned right now, the market always puts you in a weird spot. Markets are very ironic. And so it really wants you to force a late long shove right now, but I'm kind of scared to do it because SpaceX is tomorrow. And so it's a little bit of like The war is maybe the most over it's ever been, but it's a little bit scary because you know what's coming tomorrow. So I'm only in my IRL entertainment longs spot at the moment, and everything else is cash, and I'm getting ready to gear up to fucking make some plays. So, all right, I got a lot to talk about. I got a lot to get into. I got a lot to cover. I'm going to start with the Knicks, but before I get to the Knicks, roll call! Either what's good, Houdini, what's good, Taylor, what's good, Hidden, what is good, Tui, what's good, Jackson Ray, what's good, Sparky, Sir Wheatens, LeBron, Levi, Kevin, Caleb, Viblet, Pudgy, Wavy, Dylan, what's good? Is that say Dylan Brunson? Related? Tyler, Lattice, what's good? Uncle, what's good? Jinxie, what's good? Hidden, what's good? Wolf, what's good? Spicy Meatball, what's good? Adix, what's good? Kira, what's good? G-Man, what's good? Money, what's good? What's good? What's good? Prodigy, what's good? Frisch, what's good? Tom Brady, what's good? Kenny, what's good? Proof of work, what is good? All right, guys, yesterday, okay, by the way, I was talking about how America's maybe on the precipice of a golden age right now, and I think we're going to have a multi-year renaissance in the United States of America. I think we got like 2 years, maybe the rest of the Trump term, and we genuinely are approaching renaissance levels, okay? Yesterday, okay, so game 3, I got a phone call the night before from a friend of mine who has some like friend and family little plug, and he calls me at 12:30 and midnight, and I'm like, fuck, this guy hasn't called me in a long time. And so I pick up the phone, he offers me tickets. I had a commitment to go to at a billionaire party. I told you about this. And so I told him, I'll let you know in 15 minutes. I could only go to one game if I was going to go to one, and I was only going with the discount. And so I get back to him 15 minutes later, and I text him, and I say, I'm in. Give me the ticket. I'm in. He responds, you missed it by 2 minutes. And I'm like, fuck. NBA Finals in New York. I'm not going to get to go. So yesterday, we're on stream, and I was kind of distracted during market close because he hits me up and he's like, look, I got 2 tickets. I'll give you, I can finesse you a little bit under market. Look, you're going to be high. Okay. It's deep. You're going to be deep. You're going to be high up, but I got 2 tickets. If you want to bring a homie, you got to let me know right now. Like, I got to know right now. And so I'm going back and forth with Malcolm. I'm going to bring me and Malcolm want to go. I'm going back and forth. I'm like, should we do it? Should we do it? Should we do it? We got Schwager tomorrow. Let's just fucking do it. Fuck it. And so we do it. And we go to this game. So I get off stream. I take a quick nap, do a quick workout, and then we just book it to MSG. Okay. Madison Square Garden is like, dude, it's protected like Area 47, bro. Like 41, whatever, 42, whatever. I'm talking, there is 41. There's guardrails. What's 47? 51. There is guardrails from like 30 blocks back. You can't just walk over the street. There is guardrails for 30 blocks, okay? And in every interim, it's like a prestige. You have to show your tickets, and they like shove you through, and they're blocking people out. People are trying to jump the fences. Bro, I'm telling you, every cop, if you're ever going to commit a crime, it was last night, because every cop in New York City was standing outside MSG preparing for this game. And so we get into the stadium, we sit down, we get a water. I got recognized once, it was kind of cool. Shout out the Knicks. We sit down, and we proceed. And, bro, these tickets were expensive. I don't want to say how expensive, because I'm going to feel like you're going to feel disassociated from me. You feel out of touch. But we sit down at this game, and I'm deep, man. I'm deep. I'm in like the 200s. I'm probably like row, I don't even know what row. I'm like 100 rows back. I mean, there's like maybe 15 rows to go behind me. I'm deep. But you can see well, okay? You can see well. Like, it's a great seat. It was a great seat. I'm in the middle. You can see the whole, like, it actually was, they were incredible seats. And Malcolm, should I say the ticket price? And so we're sitting, and first of all, they put Paul Tudor Jones on the big screen. It was unbelievable. For some, they messed up his name. It said Taylor Swift right below, but Paul Tudor Jones was on the big screen. And we sit there, and I'm telling you, we proceed to watch the worst. And I grew up playing basketball my whole life. I've been all over the world playing basketball. I've watched a lot of basketball games. And we proceed to watch. I'll tell you, they're $3,500 each. There you go. We proceed. It's the fucking finals in New York, man. You have to do it. You have to do it. You have to do it. It's the finals in New York fucking City, man. You have to do it. Okay? It's New York City. It's like, yeah, you have to do it. And so we get up there and we proceed to watch the worst 3/4 of basketball I've ever seen in my entire life. It was bad. But the thing about the game being bad is it wasn't just normal bad. It's New York bad. And we're sitting around a group of people that are genuinely some of the most diehard sports fans I've ever seen. And these are the type of people that if your football team loses on a Sunday, they have a bad month. Okay? And they were so loud and so miserable. I was genuinely scared for the people around us. Like, it was so miserable. Okay? It was bad. It was bad. It was bad. Like, the worst 3/4 of basketball I've ever seen. I'm like, this sucks. The arena is dead. You could hear a pin drop in MSG for like 36 minutes. You could hear a fucking pin drop. It was silent. It was silent. It was dead. The only time there was any noise is when a chant of "fuck you, Wemby, fuck you, Wemby" would start. That was it. If it wasn't "fuck you, Wemby," it was silent. Okay. And by the way, these Knicks fans are gnarly. Like, there was this one play where Mitchell Robinson comes in and hits Wemby with the fucking clothesline elbow to the jaw, and the crowd erupted. He hits him with this dirty like elbow, and the crowd erupted. Okay. And we watched 36 minutes of the worst basketball ever. And for some reason, I have this gut feel like, man, I just think they're going to make a run at it. But I'm looking at the clock. 16 minutes left. There's 14 minutes left. We're in the fourth quarter. There's 8 minutes left. And it's like 30. And then it's like 22. And then a couple Anunoby threes. And it's like 15. It's 15. It's 15. And then it's like, why is Jose Alvarado in the game? And then, oh my God, that was a nice move by Jose Alvarado. And then, oh my God, Jose Alvarado made a three. Oh my God, OG Anunoby made a three. It's 10. Oh my God, is that a steal from Jose Alvarado? It's 10. It's 8. OG Anunoby 3. It's 5. Jalen Brunson 3. It's 2. Wemby missed a free. Josh Hart steal. Oh, he missed a dunk. Oh my God, he missed a dunk. He missed a dunk. He missed a dunk. And the entire crowd goes silent. He misses the dunk. And then Wemby goes to the free throw line. And so what happens? Knicks miss. Wemby goes to the free throw line. And it's like a 2-point game, mind you. The last 8 minutes of the fourth quarter, this arena is fucking electric. Like, it's just vibrating. It's vibrating. Like, dude, I've never seen anything like it. Seriously, I've been to some sick games. I was at the Clippers playoffs when they played the Nuggets last year, and Aaron Gordon hit the tip in at the buzzer. I've been to some insane games in my life. This arena is genuinely it's vibrating. It's vibrating. Wemby goes to the free throw line. I don't know. There's like I gotta watch the rest of the game because watching it on TV and watching it IRL, you like forget stuff. I gotta watch the last 5 minutes. Maybe we'll do it at the end of the stream. Wemby goes to the free throw line. I think up 1 after the Knicks just missed. And it is, I'm telling you, the loudest decibel of sound I've ever heard in my entire life. My ears are still ringing from the Wemby free throws, okay? It's the entire arena is, everyone is screaming. My voice still hurts. First one, miss. The crowd pop on the first miss is unlike any sound you've ever heard in your life. It was just like an uproar, dude. And then the second one in the crowd is just misses the second one, rebound. And then, bro, I'm telling you, there's 5 seconds. So what happens? We miss again. De'Aaron Fox gets the rebound, shoots the worst. The game's over. It's gonna be over. Maybe makes the worst play in the history of the NBA. De'Aaron Fox. Maybe makes arguably the worst play in the history of the NBA. Dribble it out, get fouled, shoot 2 free throws. No. He goes to the rim. He gets swatted off the glass. Knicks call a timeout, advance the ball. And mind you, bro, this thing, I mean, it was over. It was over. Like, it was completely over, this game. And then inbound to Brunson. Brunson shoots the step back 3. The thing that was crazy, Brunson shoots the 3. It was a good look. I liked it. Just get it up over Wemby. Shoots the deep 3 for the win. Misses. It bounces off the rim, and the entire arena just freezes, bro. just freezes. And I almost didn't react when the hand of God came soaring out of the backcourt and just OG Anunoby saved the market, saved New York City, arguably saved America with the hand of God. Tips it in, and bro, everybody around was just, everyone's hugging everyone, and we're high-fiving everyone. I'm screaming. Everyone's hugging everyone. It was like a collective, like, New York. And then the Spurs have like a second left, and it's dead silent. I'm standing like this. I can't watch. I can't watch. I actually can't watch. I can't watch. Lob to Castle. It's a bad pass. Fumbles it. Game over. And just pop, bro. Crowd pop like you've never seen in your life. We finally get out the arena, and there's just like, dude, New York City on the way back from the arena is unlike anything you've ever seen, bro. The whole city of New York is in unison screaming, "Fuck you, Wemby." Allegedly they're on the subway screaming, "Fuck you, LeBron," chanting that. Me and Malcolm got on city bikes and biked home like 3-4 miles, 5 miles. We're biking, we're driving through the city. Every car is laying on their horn. Every bar is like overflowed with people. There's people in the streets. There's people everywhere. Everyone's screaming. Everyone's honking. Everyone's drinking drinks in the streets. There's cops everywhere. The cops are honking. They got sirens going off. Every person who drive by, windows down. Woo! Everyone's screaming at everyone. There's packs of people in the street. They're screaming at other packs in the street. Every once in a while, you'll hit like a turn on the bike, and I was wearing all black, and one time I hit this turn on the bike, and they're like, "He's a Spurs fan, get him!" I'm like, oh fuck, I'm like riding hard, man, like Theon Greyjoy escaping the prison. He's a Spurs fan. You get a couple of those. They're like chasing people down. They're like running people down, bro. If you're in a Wemby jersey, you are literally getting run down. Okay, you're getting run, like, it's not sweet. You do not go to these games in the Spurs. They're running people down in the streets of New York City. It was like, bro, it was unlike anything bro, city's, it's breathing. Like, I'm telling you, it's crazy. Every car, everyone's screaming at everyone. It was unreal. And yeah, man, I think I went to the greatest finals game of all time. So anyways, I had to tell the story. That was the story. It was awesome. I couldn't believe it. It was the worst 36 minutes of basketball ever. Hey, yo, he looks like a Spurs fan. And they're gunning. He's running. He's taking the jersey off. He's throwing it behind. He's fucking running down the street. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable. So, anyways, the hand of God, OG Anunoby. That is what happened. And my God, we have a lot to talk about today. And we're going to get into it very shortly. By the way, Theon Greyjoy, you know that scene where he like escapes the prison and like, you gotta ride hard, and he's fucking, watch out, he's fucking like, this was me and Malcolm on the bikes. We're fucking like raiding hard. You know, if the USA and Iran both end up in second place in their group out of 4 in the World Cup, they're gonna play each other in the US. Are you aware of this? There's like a very likely chance that the US and Iran play each other in the World Cup. That's unbelievable. They're going to play each other in the World Cup. It could very, very, very likely happen, which is that's insane. That is fucking insane. So that's insane. Okay. Also, I didn't cover this yesterday, but you know my stance right now. IRL is back. I've never believed, after going out yesterday, by the way, for the first time in a while, I've never believed it more that IRL is so back. But in particular, tickets and movies, so back. And they just announced a new social network, a sequel. They just announced a sequel to the social network. And I think it's going to be, box office cinema. Okay. Also, I'm maybe going this weekend. I'm actually probably not going to go, but I bought tickets. I'm actually not going, but I bought the tickets, if anyone wants them, to Obsession this weekend. I'm not going anymore. We had some stuff come up. We had some plans. But Obsession, supporting my local AMC, and that is what that is. All right, we have 56 minutes, and we have a lot more than 56 minutes worth of content to cover right now. So I'm going to make this announcement one more time and one more time only. That's probably a lie, If you're watching on YouTube or Twitter and you would like to chat, you can do so at twitch.tv/threadguy. And as I look down at my little clock in the bottom right-hand corner of my second monitor, I see 4:05 p.m. And I sit here and I think to myself, what happens at 4:05 p.m.? What does it mean when it's 4:05 p.m. EST? That means that approximately 5 minutes ago, the market has closed. You want to know what I want to know? What are y'all buying? What are y'all selling? What did you make money on? What did you lose money on? What are you looking to enter? What are you looking to exit? What do you like? What do you hate? What are you mad at? What are you happy about? What ticker do you just want to shout out because it looks cool? What do you like? What do you hate? Tickers, 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 tickers. What do you got? Enter Lumen Long Gold. Congratulations. Binged SK Hynix entry on Sunday. Nice. MU Bullet Hood been popping. Yes, it has. Long WOD bought Apple, sold Oracle. I think you're green today. Long hyped in XMR last night. Congrats. Congrats. Long WLD hype basically flat. Bitcoin Hood Kinatra. What's Kinatra? SD Money. It's a relatively new name in here as well. KINS. Hit me. What do you got? Got right to my soul short. Yeah. 63. You maybe deserved it. That's a tough one though. That is a tough one. I can't lie. Near long hype caught in a Bitcoin short. That's tough. That is tough. Reddit and ASTS. Long space stocks into SpaceX IPO. I fear that is a fun one. It's definitely a fun one. When is the bottom? It might have just happened. I don't entirely know. What else you got? What else you got? Parker Hannafin. I don't really know what that is. Haven't traded since Marvell. Ugh. Me either. Well, that's a lie. I have. But the Marvell one was annoying because it's above where I sold it. Now, MSTR Hive. There's an ETF that includes SpaceX called NASA. Interesting. We may have bought them. Nevius Men. How much will a spot in the pit be worth in 10 years? Worth considering. I may never expand it again. I may expand it. I don't know. Long oil, brother. Why? Long AXON. USAR is at the US rare earth metal company. ASML and AMD. Chamath giving his blessing on Nevius. Chamath is also giving his blessing on copper. I believe they just did another episode on copper, if I'm not mistaken. Thoughts on zinc? I don't know what that is. I'll give it a look. Short KDP. Let me try and get you signed to my platform in the future. I know you fuck with it. What do you got? What do you got? Long oil equities, short semiconductor ETFs. Ugh, God. Proof of work. I respect you, though. You know why? I respect you because you come here, you call your fucking shot, you say what you in, and you say it with your chest. As a man, I respect it, brother, but ugh. You maybe could have done the opposite, but hey, there's plenty of times I wish I did the opposite as well. NASA ETF up 12.74% today. Any other positions to call out before I give it a look? MU, Marvell, biggest wins today. Nice. ASTS, SUNY X, first chatter. W's for the first chatter. Welcome. You know we're going to look at ASTS. I got to buy some more near. Dr. Rizzer, what is up, brother? Thoughts on DEUS, tokenized robotics VC exposure. Is it a robo-strategy competitor? I got to give that a look. Yahoo Finance is 17 hours, 20 minutes till SpaceX IPO. Yeah, we're gonna try to figure out when first tick goes live. I don't exactly know how that's gonna work. Yeah. DNOP. Remember that DEUS, that robotics thing for me. I want to give that a look. All right. Let's go. We got a lot to cover. We got to get ready for Jack. Let's get into it. First and foremost, the SPX with an unbelievable close comes in today up 1.75% at 7,394.31 This thing was red. I sent a message in the pit and I said, damn, they're really taking the SPY out back and killing it. It was red. It was ugly. It was red. It was ugly. And it closes green on some wild war news. First, we had President Donald J. Trump canceled strikes against Iran based on the fact that discussions with the Islamic Republic of Iran have been brought to the highest level of Iranian leadership and approved. I have, as President of the United States of America, canceled the scheduled strikes and bombings against Iran this evening. Discussions and final points have been, in both concept and great detail, approved by all parties involved, including the United States, Israel, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Turkey, Pakistan, Bahrain, Kuwait, Jordan, Egypt, and others. The naval blockade will remain in full force in effect until this transaction is finalized. Time and place of the signing to be announced shortly. So we're going to talk all about it, but this is obviously the headline that ripped us. And it feels to me as the headline or the commentary that seems to be the most over that the war has been. I don't know if I'm off on that, and I'll show you why I think that. Also, my voice is a little bit raspy. I apologize. I was screaming yesterday. But commentary feels to be the closest to over that we've been on the war stuff. We'll give it a look. Kospi, the South Korean index, nice close, comes in up 0.4%. The Russell 2000 up 3.6, looking ready to make a new all-time high. The SPY 737, same 1.67. The QQQ with a monster day up 3.38%. The SOX semi ETF comes roaring back after almost 4 red days, up 8.4%. The IGV software ETF, arguably the worst coin ever incepted, is down. The only thing down today, 0.72%. And then the IBB, the bio index, which is a new add to our list, comes in at 170.48, up 2.74%. Cryptocurrency on BTC, at the very least, looks like we might locally be done here. It was kind of feeling like last night, or I guess over the last couple days, right? We had this green candle, bounced us, and it was weak. And then increased volume, red. I was kind of feeling like we were going to start doing the drilling, and it didn't happen. We bounced. It was pretty strong today, and then you got the news of the ceasefire and potential peace deal, and BTC is now 63,463. It's a weak bounce, but a bounce nonetheless. Maybe looks like it wants to go higher here. Does anyone have a new Bitcoin position that they put on? Golden, good to see you as well. Good to see you as well. Does anyone have a new BTC position that they were brave enough to put on? No. Period. No. Period. No. Period. Old Bitcoin position, buying spot, buying calls all day. Really? My 2x long still underwater from what entry? Old one. Yeah, a lot of old ones. You're brave if you're putting on a new one, but at least it's moving. At least you're getting some reaction. Long from 61K. Congratulations. Shorting Bitcoin here is short. Yeah. That's BTC. Biggest gainer on crypto majors that I follow here is Hyperliquid. It's still kind of caught in this like head and shoulders pattern, if you will. But previous all-time high, it was above it. It's now back below it. 59,362 is previous all-time high. It's 58,671 and up 10% on the day. Really sick reaction from Hyperliquid. I know quite a few people in this chat are long HL. I don't actively have a position, but we will be using it a lot today and early market open tomorrow to get some color on the SpaceX IPO. Zcash, I'm probably gonna have to remove it from this list. That's up 7%. ETH, it's up 3.5% and still under 7,500. Unbelievable. Per data is up 12, up a little bit more than Hyperliquid, and Solana. Wow. 6666 on Solana, and very much struggling, but it is up 6% today. And then near that's up 3.6. Bond yields across the board are down a lot. 2 years down 2.15, 10 years down 2.17, and the 30s down 1.55. The VIX, which went crazy yesterday, is down 12.6%, which is good to see. Also I have VVV on this list with a nice little bounce here. That's up 10%. Metals chads, where are we? Metals just trade like risk, I guess. First and foremost, gold is up 3.5. Silver is putting in a nice candle as well, which is up 6.2 on the daily. But the one that I care the most about is copper. I like copper. I like copper. And I think that All In Podcast copper. Yeah, look, they just did a episode where I believe they spent some time on copper. America's critical minerals crisis is here. I don't know if that's how related that is to copper. I am gonna have to watch it at some point, but it is good to see. At the very least, I would really like to enter this, but I don't know how or when or if I'm ever going to do it. But at the very least, it's something we're going to pay attention to for a long. Let's climb up copper. What I mean, what is like? Is this a thing I can Google? What is copper worth? Like all copper. The total market capitalization of copper is 18.55 trillion. Wow. That is a really big number. 18 trillion. My God. Yeah, pretty big. Also, Monero's up 10%, but this token is relatively cursed. All right, moving on. Nothing makes me happier to see than oil red candles. I made this tweet today, and I'm pretty convinced it's true. That this post by Flood single-handedly has saved like billions of dollars by discouraging oil longs. Remember, by longing oil, you're longing an asset that almost every country on earth is incentivized to see trade lower. April 2nd, 2026. We zoom out. April 2nd is right here. Wow. Actually, let's copy paste the tweet. I forgot you could do that. Wow. I mean, that's unbelievable. Wow. I mean, he top ticked it. Maybe one of the better tweets ever. Also, casually a daily chatter in our stream, but that's a different story for a different day. Crude oil is down to $86.20 a barrel. It's down 4.3% today. Brent is 88.1 a barrel. That's down 5.8% today, respectively. Defense is all green, just like everything else. So for Palantir, it's barely green, and it's holding on this Trump level for dear life. Is anyone here long Palantir? I was at one point on a board trade, but you know how those generally play out for me. Also, one more time, if you're watching on YouTube, Twitter, you want to chat, twitch.tv/threadguy. I have spot. Yeah, I don't know. Good Alexander had some interesting takes yesterday about how it's like a Trump beta. What's good, Eli's? SN, thanks for the gifted. Thank you for the gifted. It definitely is a Trump beta. Definitely a Trump beta. And it's not great to see it not trade well, but it is what it is. All right, let's give a look at what everybody actually is here for and cares about. Semis, big AI, a little bit of space, a little bit of SaaS, a little bit of everything. You know, my lists are kind of a disaster, but the leaders here are pretty notable. Biggest gainer, SPCE of 22%, space stock. Number 2, Firefly, 17.8%, space stock. Number 3, Redwire, 14.93%, space stock. Number 6, ASTS, up 11.73%. Space stock, a little bit lower on the list. Rocket Lab, up 9.26%. Space stock. They're fucking green, man. Space across the board is really green. The Good Alexander thesis is that SpaceX is going to be a liquidity vamp for all speculative space stocks, because how could you ever paint a better narrative than SpaceX? They're just going to buy SpaceX. Every marginal dollar allocated to space that is not Elon is going to get vamped, and they're going to get destroyed. He may be right. He may not be right, but everything space is up double digits today. I agree with you, Daniel, in agreeing with his take that Elon is, I mean, he's got to be the best equity salesman of all time. And the SpaceX story is a very compelling one. Momentous, up 40% space stock. I don't know that one. Momentous. MNTS. Wow, that's up 40%. It's tiny, though. It's $170 million market cap. Who told me to look at that? Micron, that's up 12%. Monster day today on Micron. That is back up 12%. And we are officially up 91% from the Air Mass public entry. ARM is up 12. Marvell, this stock has cursed me. I traded it bad. I cursed its name. I Pico top bottom ticked the thing. It's now $280. And it is very green. That's up 11%. ASML is up 11. Intel, that's up 10. And is now definitively above, once again, the Trump P&L screenshot card level, which I thought would be harder to break than it was. Rocket Lab up 9. AMD is up 8. Sive is up 8. Bloom Energy is up 6. QCOM, somehow, that's up 6. Dell is up 6. Another Trump stock. BlackBerry and Nokia are the crypto Twitter favorites. Is anyone here long BlackBerry or Nokia? Tesla, that is up 5. Broadcom from the rafters, that's up 5. Cloudflare's up 4. Nvidia's up 2. Amazon's up 1. Apple up 1. Google is very weak. What did you think of the Good Alexander bear Google thesis? It actually lost the $350 level, which they diluted equity, sold $10 billion worth to Berkshire Hathaway, and sold $80 billion in total. There was a lot of discussion that that was the peak of top of the market because that number doesn't seem to be that big in a vacuum. But then when you look at it's more than the entire SpaceX IPO raise. I mean, it's a gargantuan number that they just diluted, just threw it under the market. It's got to account for something. So Google, it's back above the level, but it was below it. I think the level is 350. We should actually mark that out, right? We should mark that out. $80 billion dilution on Google. We'll see how significant that line seems to become. All right, there are a few things read today. First and foremost, Oracle. Earnings beat yesterday, didn't beat by enough. It's pretty destroyed, down 9%. Intraday down 0.5% after hours. Andrew Kang robo-strategy had some momentum, is getting crushed. $659 million market cap. It is now up about 15% from when Kang announced he's the CEO of robo-strategy. It's down 7% on the day. I like this one. I do. I'm intrigued by this. I fear that I don't know enough about the business. I don't know anything about robotics, but I like the thesis on at least I like the story. By the way, I like that framing. SpaceX is a good story. RoboStrategy is a good story. I like the story behind it. So I'm interested. Adobe down 5. Cerebras was looking like it was ready to start printing a nice chart, and it just is unable to do so at the moment. Down 5. Microsoft is very ugly. That is down 2%. Retrace the entire pump. I think Ackman is down an arm and a leg on this thing right now. I think he was about 425 entry on Bill Ackman. I don't know if I'm making that up, but I believe it needs to be marked out. I think it's a Bill Ackman entry, 425. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But he likes it a lot. I mean, that's a nasty fractal. It just is painting. And then Meta as well, 568. And this just is no life in this chart right now. All right, moving on. Some of our more consumer SaaS fun names, whatever you may have it. Number 1, Gainer, Iren. It's up 10%. Number 2, Gainer on the day is none other than AMC. AMC puts in another monster. 10% day. Everybody go to the movies. From where threadguy enters with a little. It's up 16%. Go to the movies. IRL is back, man. I'm telling you. I went to the Knicks game. IRL is fucking back. Mara, that's up 8. Robinhood also looks very intriguing. I hate on Robinhood a lot, and I think it's going to be difficult for me to enter a Robinhood position when Hyperliquid exists. It is Trump beta, though, at this point. And everyone's using Robinhood to get exposure to Try to get some shares from SpaceX IPO. I don't know, but I know some people like Robinhood. I know Amit loves Robinhood. I hear hoodie all day, and this thing's up 6.8%. Very least, it's a good thing to see. Market cap is now $83 billion in the hood. Sweet Green, Chris Camillo, that is up 7%. It's now back in the green, up 35% from when he first came on the stream and announced it. Ferrari, that's up 5.5. Texas Instruments up 5. SoFi, all the fintech looks good. That's up 5%. Nebius is up 5. Roblox, God, ugly, up 5. Circle's up 5. StubHub, that's up 5. It is up 6 cents from where I entered with a little bit of spot. I figured, hey, fuck it, I'm getting all my tickets on StubHub. I might as well buy what I seem to believe in. Wait, let me read this message really quick. Anyways, let me refocus. DraftKings up 4. Coinbase, that's up 4. Strategy's up 4. IKBR is up 4, and this chart looks really strong. HIMS, that's up as well, 3%. The Swatch Group is up. Nothing else super. Shopify is one that we like. That's up 2. Snapchat down 1. GameStop down 1. This thing just does nothing. It doesn't fucking move. It does not move. WTI, Figma, worst stock of all time, down 2. And Novo is down 3. All right. Altcoins, a lot of green today. XPL is the daily gainer. That's horrifying. That is not what you want to see in crypto altcoins. Plasma as the daily gainer. That is arguably a disaster. That's up 13%. Monero is up 12. Galaxy is up 10. Chart starts to look very interesting. I mean, Mike Novogratz and Galaxy, you get above basically this level, and it looks like it's smooth sailing ahead. VVV's up 10. Mega ETH with its first green candle ever. That's up 10%. Layer 0 up 10. Grass up 10. Lighter looks pretty strong, up 10. And Jito is the only thing red. That's down 5%. We'll do a quick on-chain check-in if you don't mind me. Let's see what we got. We have Cards, 54 mil. We have Banker, 45 mil. We have Asteroid, somehow still 42. We have Joshua, 3 mil dead. And we have, I don't know, Neat, 24. How about Railgun? Railgun, 166 mil. It's crazy this is worth like more than that space stock. Railgun. Maybe it should be. Knock, 82 mil. I haven't bought an on-chain coin in a long time. An Octra, 58. The last on-chain coin I purchased, Scam Altman. Looks pretty bottomed. Really looks bottomed here. $184,000 market cap. All right, let's check in on our traders. How are we? First and foremost, Loracle kept the hyperliquid long, down 1.6 on it, but cut a lot of unrealized gains, and is up 3.1 million on the Zcash long, down 600 on Near, down a quarter on WLD, down another quarter on TON, up a quarter on XMR, down 400 on Aster, and up 27,000 United States dollars on a Tesla short. Second, we have pull Jez for me if you don't mind, DNAP. Second, we have Garrett Bullish, who still has the Bitcoin long open. It was down from about $19 million negative UPNL to about 16. And his Zcash long that was down a couple million is down 700,000. And then last but not least, Jez. Is there any good wallets you think I should track? Like any CT figures that are really active, trade a lot of size, you would like to see me track on our daily? Can we look at your wallet? Oof. I'd rather not, actually. This is Jez, who closed. He closed. He closed plus 43K. 429. What's base wallet? I have no idea. Good luck with that. you're probably not getting a base 16Z wallet if we're being completely honest about it. We're probably not getting a base 16Z wallet. All right. Also, let us check in on our oil bulls. Let's check in on let's check in. Nothing. Nothing really. Wait, let me mute my computer's going crazy. Let me mute this. Nothing really on pee poo poo. How about Calvin? Nothing. Boy, they really want the red cover for this IPO. It's a great piece of our time, but for real this time, nothing really. And then what about crude oil 231 JH? This is my favorite oil bull for sure. Nothing. Nothing at all. All right. How about we do a quick recap of what exactly happened, and then we can follow up on what is going to happen tomorrow, which is SpaceX, and then we're going to talk to Jack Schwager, the GOAT. So we had a pretty red day today at the beginning because we were dumping on United States will be hitting Iran very hard, all caps, tonight. At some point in the not too distant future, we'll be taking Karg Island and other oil infrastructure points and assuming total control of their oil and gas markets, much like we have with Venezuela, which is working out brilliantly for both Venezuela and the United States of America. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And so, as I was prepping for stream today, I'm prepping like war escalation tweets. That's all I'm adding to the doc.
Look, my preference has always been take Karg Island. That's been Brian knows that. I spoke to him a long time ago. Lawrence knows it. I spoke to him a long time ago. I said my preference would be that. I don't know that America has the stomach for it, to be honest with you. You're going to make a fortune, but I don't know that America has the stomach. I think they'd like to see us come home. But we did it with Venezuela. Venezuela's worked out great for everybody. We've taken millions and millions of barrels of oil out of Venezuela. We brought them to Houston and various other places, Louisiana. Where refineries that we have that are incredible. They're going 24 hours a day, making a fortune. And, I like that in this case too. But I'm not sure that America has a long time. It's a little longer process, something that's a guarantee if I want to do it.
Mr. President.
But I'm not sure the country has the appetite for it. Does that make sense to you?
So I saw this Tolk's tweet and I was like, this is a pretty good one, I think, which is like, the man who's made a living off saying ludicrous things, but even for his standards, we will be taking Karg Island and their oil markets is an insane statement. And so I almost did the thing I did the first time they threatened to take Karg Island, which is during the most exacerbated, the most ridiculous statements that come out of Trump's mouth, I got bearish at those spots, right? He's threatening to nuke Karg Island and I was a bear, but you kind of only really have one option, which I think is to be a local bull when that happens the next time. Because it's so extreme and loud and just out of character that the only really direction you can go is to fade it. And so that is kind of what happened. This is crazy. I haven't actually watched this, but damn, I mean, there is an active war zone. It is crazy. And so Iran responded and they said, we will not retreat. And then Iran going after Elon, which is Starlink's ground stations in Israel, Qatar, Jordan, United Arab Emirates, and Oman, alongside SpaceX shareholders, including the infrastructure of 2 companies, are the new targets of Iran. So they're going after Starlink and things like this. And it basically gets us to the last 2 tweets, which is number 1, this, which is the dumbest money on earth, has never bet this aggressively against crude oil. And so I'm not long crude, but I'm definitely not short. I'm definitely not short, and I'm not interested in getting short at all as it relates to crude oil. And then the follow-up was this announcement that we had just read, which was Trump basically saying that he has canceled the strikes against Carg. And so that took us from like down half a percentage point maybe on the SPY to like up half a percentage point. And then let's just like go flurry through TradFi news and read what has happened. And so some combination of what do you have, the app? Oh God, I don't even want to watch this, but I will because I love you guys. All right. How do you get in this room, by the way?
The thing that anybody could have done about that. Yeah.
Is the Carg Island operation off the table, and are you ruling out?
Well, now it would be. If we signed this agreement, it would be. They weren't so thrilled when they heard that that's what I would have done. And I just don't think, I like it great. Look at Venezuela, how well that's worked out. We paid for president.
Okay, we read that headline. So there's basically just a flurry of announcements, and I still feel like what I said at the beginning is true, that this is, I don't know, it sounds like it's the closest we've been to a deal being done, but how do you even gauge that at this point? So Iran has not yet approved any text for agreements with us. Negotiators stalled. They haven't provided a final response. And then U.S.-Iran MOU likely to be signed next week. Trump, we made a great settlement of war in Iran. Trump stock market up 1,000 points means they like the deal. Deal should be done pretty quickly. Just spoke to Netanyahu. Followed by the Strait will be open as soon as the deal is signed. We can sign a deal over the weekend in Europe. This is the one thing I don't like, is that he's not going to be there. Feels... Remember what happened the last time? Yes, interview in 23 minutes. Remember what happened the last time we sent JD Vance to Pakistan to negotiate a peace treaty? He came back with no peace treaty. And so it does... This is my one red flag, if you were to fade this, is they only send JD Vance in to fail. Like, if JD Vance is responsible for anything, it's a forced fail. They're actively sabotaging his campaign. So if they're sending in JD... I don't know why they would send him in for something good to happen. And so this was the most suspect quote, I think, from the whole thing, is that Trump is not going to be there. Because Trump's not going to go and then not get done. And so Vance will be at Iran deal signing. And then follow up. I understand the Supreme Leader has approved deal. So that's where it leaves us. I will say the timing of this is rather incredible, given the fact that the SpaceX IPO... Wow, is he not going because of the UFC? No. Certainly that's not why he's not going. Because of the UFC? Stop. Wait. Are you serious? Dude, what? He's not going to go to the... Man, he skipped his daughter. He skipped a wedding. He skipped his child's wedding. But he's going to go to the UFC? He skipped Donald Trump Jr.'s wedding like a month ago for a peace deal with Iran that didn't even get done. But he's going to go to the UFC is crazy. Wow. He hasn't known him long. That's crazy. This event's for his birthday. Is it really? What is Trump's birthday? June 14th, 1946. Wow. 46. 1946. It was supposed to be July 4th, and they changed it to his birthday. Wow. And he's sending JD Vance to Iran to do the deal because the UFC is on Sunday. That is insane. What the fuck? I mean, that makes me feel like it's not going to get done. Right? Like, Chad, what do you think? Over or no? I love fading escalation, but I would love to not have to fade de-escalation. Nobody thinks it's over. Oh my God. It probably is a decent oil long spot. I just can't get myself to do it. I can't get myself to do it. Poly market. What do we have for markets? Wow, it's 13%. It barely, I mean, it was 4%. It went up to 15. It barely even went up. That is, yeah. So this is why I didn't enter any late longs. It felt like a bad spot to shove late longs because one, you have the same Boy Who Cried Wolf. It's played out the same way like 10 consecutive times. And then two, you have SpaceX IPO tomorrow, which is a complete mystery how that's going to age. And so it feels like a scary spot to be trapped in late longs for me, especially when I didn't really have any conviction in entering anything. And so I just have my spot IRL entertainment for now. But on that note, tomorrow is going to be first tick of the biggest IPO in the history of markets, which is SpaceX. And the headlines coming out of this thing is nuts. You know, SpaceX IPO said to draw more than 70 billion in retail orders, which means that retail orders alone are basically enough to cover the entire raise. Retail will be allocated 20% of available shares for SpaceX, which is like 5% of the float, maybe 4% of the float, something like this. Also, yeah, they were saying 30% would be allocated for retail. It's now less. Is that better? That means there's more locked, less accessible for retail. I don't know, but so this is we'll go over some of these, but the most viral tweet on my feed today about SpaceX is this. Okay, the market is toast. Anna Watts, God, my voice is so cooked. A 33-year-old public relations manager in New York has stashed away $6,500 to buy SpaceX stock after it hits the market Friday. If she had her way, she'd buy even more. She tried to borrow $5,000 from her best friend and applied for a bank loan too, but both turned her away. You know, it's kind of a sad state of affairs when a relatively normal person being interested in getting exposure to America is like a top signal. You know, it's like if you create something good enough where normal people want access and a chance to maybe make some money, that means the game is over. It's like kind of a sad state of affairs, you know? This used to be a thing where you could do this. You used to be able to get in to Amazon at $1 billion. You really did. An IPO at $1 billion, a couple $1 billion, whatever. It's sort of a sad state of affairs where if capital markets create and accept something intriguing enough where a normal person that doesn't spend every day frying their brain doing this wants to get exposure, that it's exit all markets, it's over. You know, what kind of game has been created when that's the case? And I was thinking about this. Malcolm had this take, and I don't always think he has that many good ones, but I've seemed to be kind of drawn to this take, which I'll just read his tweet. I seem to be drawn to this take, which is Guys, been tweeting a lot. What if SpaceX is a $50 trillion company in 20 years and all we have to do is DCA our net worth and not sell? And I must admit that there is this sort of interesting feeling of every normal person in the world that has this left brain approach to markets is very sound in, I want exposure to SpaceX. And the reason they want exposure to SpaceX is the thesis is pretty simple. Rockets in space, telecom in space, Mars, data center in space, the sun really big, whatever story you pick, it's as simple as Elon wins space, I want exposure. And so there's like two ways to look at it, which is like, oh my God, 1.7 or 3, whatever trillion is so expensive for an IPO. There's no way you could ever make money. This thing is going to destroy all markets. And then there's another way to think of it, which is like, yeah, when Facebook IPO'd, it was fucking expensive and an unheard of price. And when Amazon IPO'd, it was expensive and an unheard of price. And every time there's a massive IPO, it's expensive and an unheard of price. And then everything just re-rates. GDP goes way up. Size of markets go way up. Inflation that they're telling us is 4% is way higher than 4%. And everything just goes up and re-rates. And expensive is extraordinarily relative. And so I just for the sake of the discussion, I did have this feeling, this thought that popped in my head after I read the Malcolm tweet and thought about it for a little bit, which is like, man, can you imagine if SpaceX in 5 years does a 10, 25x and it's worth $20 trillion, $25 trillion, and it just went up only, and you dedicated your career to like trading securities and you didn't have any, you held no SpaceX ever. You didn't buy like the greatest security salesman, magnum opus. You didn't buy it. You just like watched it happen and it went up 10x. Because the thing about it is if it did go up 10x, you know, a lot of normal people would hold it. A lot of normal people would hold it. If it did do it like that, this is the type of stock where if it were to go 5, 10x, a lot of normal people would hold it. And so it just is a interesting thought experiment, which is like, sometimes I wonder, are markets more simple than I make them when I come here, or like than we make them, or some individuals make them when you have your strategies and your TA and your charts and like, how often is it like Trump said buy Dell, we should just buy Dell? Or like Jensen said Marvell is going to go up, let's just like use that announcement as an entry. Or like, I don't know, everyone's trading everything on Hyperliquid. Maybe I should just like buy some spot hype. And so my plan with SpaceX, I'm going to be honest, is probably to do nothing. I'm going to just vibe trade it. I would love to tell you that I have some generational strategy on this, but I really don't. I'm basically all in cash, except for StubHub and AMC. And I'm kind of just going to see what happens. I'm not in any rush to make a decision on it. I think some people have thought about it way more in depth than I have, and I've been preparing for this for a long time. I see this to sort of be the consensus chart it's going to print. Everyone seems to be posting some variation of this. Loaf, welcome. You didn't miss that much. We're talking about SpaceX. Everyone seems to be posting this chart as the, you know, the airdrop fractal, if you will. Day one, down only, consolidate for a while at the bottom, and then we realize, oh my God, this is a great coin. We go up only. The chart that I think of when I see this is Robinhood. If you look at Robinhood chart, it's a fun one. We've done this exercise before, but it's a fun one. It's like kind of similar, right? I mean, that's the chart that he just, who is this, a tie? Yeah, that's the chart he just put as Robinhood, basically. It like, you IPO, wait, let me see this. You IPO, it moons for like 3 days. It goes down only. does nothing for like 2-3 years, and then it goes up only. The problem that we will run into, I believe, is that if SpaceX prints this fractal, it's over. You just pack up. I think you pack up and you're done. You take your ball and you go home. Because this is going to just be brutal, I think. Like, if the market cannot support this thing and it goes down only, it's going to just suck death into everything. Because you also have OpenAI and Anthropic IPOing, and there's no, I mean, I don't know. I think if SpaceX draws down 75%, what are they going to do? The same, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. And so I'm very much in the camp of this thing has to trade well, and it probably has to trade very well, or it's not good enough. And it's going to be the ultimate test to, is there enough money in the system? Which reminds me of a very special article, I think one of my favorites ever, from Plur Daddy, well before we knew about any of these IPOs, called "There's Not Enough Money in the System." And it's an unbelievable article, and it's probably relevant in both directions. So that's basically where we're at with SpaceX. I mean, retail traders sell tech to fund SpaceX IPO. Retail investors are reducing exposure to semis and AI-linked stocks as enthusiasm builds. Is this a fake narrative? I mean, the market just kind of went down. I guess people are turning over stocks. There was some war scare for sure. And then, yeah, SpaceX retail orders for IPO reported to surpass $100 billion. So retail is ready to fund the whole thing if they fucking let them. At current market on Hyperliquid, here's where we're at. It's trading at a little bit of a premium for sure. $2 trillion, give or take, is the going rate on SpaceX. It's going to go live at an expected valuation of 1.75 trillion. Did anyone here put in for shares, request shares with your brokerage account? No. Just 100 shares. Nope. I didn't. I actually kind of wish I did, just to see like how it works. What's up, Mando? Mando, what do you think tomorrow? SpaceX. There's also not that much good like YouTube footage on this thing. Let's watch them into this.
Dan Ives of Wedbush writing the following: while there will be some worries that the mammoth SpaceX will take away...
Pops closer to 2 trillion, so Hyperliquid premium is whatever. Ignore it.
Some oxygen from the tech semi-trade, this will be a short-term bump in the road. Dan joins us now for more. Dan, good morning.
Great to be here.
The appetite for this IPO. I think Lisa makes a fantastic point. A lot of people are talking about the same thing, just trying to get ahead of the index inclusion, aren't they?
No, look, I think that's definitely a play. And I think to say it's not would be wrong because of just the unique situation here from the indexing coming out of the gates. But look, at the end of the day, it does come down to, it's viewed as a derivative of the AI revolution in terms of like how you're going to play space, data, AI. And look, it's a test for the market in terms of...
I don't even know who this is.
Not just SpaceX, but the ripple effect across the rest of tech. And I think that's what you're seeing. You're starting last week in terms of the sell-off that we've seen in semis. I think it's playing into just, it's a little white knuckle moment that we're going through in tech, just to see how this is, the reception ultimately is going to be.
But it's not just this. It's pushback to equity capital raises elsewhere. The report of maybe Meta doing the same thing. We've had another player this morning suggest they're going to do the same thing, pushback in the equity market. Do we have the space for these names?
Look, I believe you do. And I think even if you look like Google after they did the offering, the view that you were going to have a big sell-off, but instead I think actually took it, pretty well in terms of the stock. Look, it's $4 trillion that's going to be spent over the coming years. This is an arms race playing out. I don't care whether it's SpaceX, Anthropic, OpenAI, in terms of the capital raise that we're seeing. And I think these companies understand the demand's there. The difference is if we go back 6 months ago, it's like, show the monetization, is CapEx going to accelerate? It's happening. And I think now that there's more of a green light, I think that should give further confidence. I think investors now are able to see around the corner because we just saw like this weekend, like our Taiwan checks, like further just tighter supply, which is just more bullish for chips, more bullish for what we see, across.
What comments, thanks. Yeah, I mean, fuck, I might try to go live tomorrow when this thing starts trading. It might not be that exciting. I don't know. Luke, Jack's in the waiting room. Lock in, Luke. You ready? All right. On that note, we're going to do a quick 180, and we have a guest, a very special guest. Okay, Jack Schwager, the author of Market Wizards, just released a new book. He's the GOAT. He's interviewed everyone. Druckenmiller, Paul Tudor Jones, Simon. He's interviewed everybody. And he's my GOAT. I've been reading his books forever. I'm a little bit nervous for this one. I'm not going to lie. He's coming on the stream. We got him right now. I'm going to get up real quick. When I come back, we're going to have Jack Schwager on the stream. And he's going to be on for about an hour. Once he gets off, we will resume. Luke, chill. We will resume. I'm going to let him in right now. We will resume with some SpaceX coverage. And we'll get into whatever we got to get into. BRB, no music. I can't play music because they're in the waiting room. BRB. All right. It was about to hit the corner, too. You just missed it. All right. Let me make a tweet real quick. Hold on, Luke. Is he good? Fuck, man. Oh, fuck. God, dude. All right. Yeah, a little bit. Fuck, hold on. All right. Let's go. We have Jack Schwager. Right now, the author of the Market Wizards. Guy's the GOAT, man. Jack Schwager. If you know ball, you know ball. If you're here for the lore, I don't know, whatever you're here for, you're going to enjoy. It's going to be sick. Jack Schwager, the author of Market Wizards. I'm excited. I'm blessed. Happy to have him here. And let's do it. All right, let's go. Let me get you fixed up here. And yo, 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 Mr. Jack Schwager, how are you, man? It is an absolute pleasure to have you here. I don't think you need a huge introduction, but I just want to start and say it's a pleasure to meet you. Congratulations on the launch of your most recent book, Market Wizards: The Next Generation. I got a copy right here, right in front of me, and yeah, man, it's great to have you here. How is everything?
Great, thanks.
Awesome. Look, hopefully I don't do too much talking, but I want to start and just give you a quick intro to let you know who I am. You're live right now, so who you're talking to as well, who's in the audience. I'm threadguy on the internet. My name is Michael in real life, and my quick background is I started trading, if you could say, with sneakers, flipping Supreme, streetwear, sort of like the internet hustle culture in the late 2010s. And I really got introduced to this game through crypto and NFTs. And so 2020, 2021, we were trading crypto. 2023, 24, 25 cycle, we were trading a lot of meme coins and everything on chain. And near the end of 2025, the crypto market took a massive hit. And it was boring, it was slow, there wasn't a lot of volatility. And I was trying to figure out, I'm live every day. What are we going to talk about? What are we going to trade? And you look over the corner of the stock market and you see these AI stocks and these semi stocks making new highs after new high. And we really pivoted everything that we were doing into paying attention to stocks. And then as this Iran war has really kicked into gear with the US, paying attention to commodities, trading oil. And the stream has devolved into basically all assets across all markets. And it's funny because compared to a lot of the wizards that you interview in your books, it's like I think of it like I learned trading backwards, and I came to stocks after I was trading for 4 or 5 years full time. And so a funny story that I'll give you is very early, like near the end of 2025, when I was talking about stocks a lot, I posted this clip from the stream, and it was replied to by Chris Camillo. And it got all this engagement. I never heard of Chris Camillo in my life. And I clicked on his Twitter profile, and his banner was Unknown Market Wizards. And I'm like, wait, I'm reading this book right now. And I think I was somewhere in the middle of the book. It's in front of me. And I opened it. I scrolled to the Chris Camillo chapter. And for someone like me who got started in these like alternative markets, learned trading second, Chris Camillo is like man, I almost cried when I read the Chris Camillo story. It was like the greatest thing I'd ever read in my life. And I actually reached out to Chris, and he came on the stream a couple months ago and maybe gave us the best interview we've ever done. So
Yep,
just a
surprised.
personal thank you for all the work that you've done and introducing myself and the audience to some unbelievable people.
Sure, thanks.
Yeah, of course. I guess to start, like a funny bit I feel as I've read a bunch of your books is it always feels like near the end, you sort of say you're done. Like, this is the last release. I'm done. There's no more. Like, this is it. This is it. And then, you put out the next generation, and then you've also teased that you're working on a new, I think a hedge fund one as well. Why do you keep going? Like, what is it? Why do you keep going?
I never intend to write another book after I finish a book, and I always end up seeming to write another book. Well, basically, I do like writing, so that is an underlying thing. But I wasn't intending to write this book, and it came about because, as you may notice, or you would notice prominently, there's a co-author in this book, George Coyle. I've never worked with a co-author before, nor had I any intention to. And what had happened is we had a mutual acquaintance who asked me if I could look at George Coyle's some of his articles. He'd been writing about great traders, and he had written an article about Michael Marcus, who happens to be chapter 1 of the first Market Wizards book. And he wanted to know if he got it right, because I personally knew Michael. And I read it, and it was pretty good. And we spoke, and I gave him some suggestions. And I think at the end of that conversation, or maybe the next one we had, I said, George, you write pretty well, and you've got some interesting stuff. If you want, I'll introduce you to my editor. And he declined, which he now says was kind of a bonehead thing to do, but he did. he wasn't intending to write a book. He was just writing these articles almost for his self education or just to retain that knowledge after doing the research. So anyway, after a few, he sent me, we continued these periodic conversations, and he wanted me to be part of the book because he was using a lot of my material, a lot of my books for source material. And so at one point he had sent me 2 full chapters, and I said, I could write my take on these and like add like a conclusion section. And I wrote that up, and we submitted those chapters to my editor. And he said, yeah, this is good, but it'd be better if you did actual interviews. So kind of threw it right back to the old Market Wizard format. So that's how this book came about. And Georgia offered to bow out. I said, no, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be working on this at all. And so we did it. So we co-authored this book, and I kind of tried to instill in him all the things I do and the style and the methodology and all of that. And the end product comes out pretty much sounding like any other Market Wizard book, I think.
You know what's crazy is I'm reading. So I have this big reading. There's not that many great finance books. Reminiscence of Stock Operator was where I started. It's probably my favorite. And I'm reading this book right now, More Money Than God, and it's the story of the hedge funds through basically every decade, and it references your interviews verbatim, because I would read the Druckenmiller chapter, and then yesterday I was reading your Druckenmiller chapter. I'm like, I've read these words before. Like the influence of it across future media is unbelievable.
Yeah, and that is I'll give a plug to that book. More Money Than God is an excellent book.
It's so good.
Well written, well researched. Yeah, so it's one of the best books written on finance.
It's a crazy one, and I'm curious, some personal stuff. You've interviewed, I'm sure there's an exact number, and you probably know it, but a lot of traders and a lot of the best ones. Are you friends with traders in your personal life? Is there's this bit where comedians don't like to hang out with comedians and whatnot?
No. Yeah, no, I'm not. Well, there's I can say off the top of my head, I'm friendly, but not in touch with a number of the traders that I've interviewed. But there's no trader I interviewed that I'm in regular contact with. Okay. Somebody like Peter Brandt, I consider a friend, but we see each other only, rarely. There's nobody that I am kind of in regular touch with. But if I would see someone like you mentioned, Chris Camillo, last time I saw Chris or spoke to him, but we're in occasional contact, and somebody like Jason Shapiro, occasional contact, but nobody as a regular friend.
The Chris chapter is so good, but you brought up Michael Marcus, and I want to ask you about that. So I read I think it's the first chapter with Michael Marcus, and the book is 37 years old or something like this. And there's this excerpt in there where he talks about, I think it was 1989. He talks about how he had this kick where he's trading currency markets, and he had to stop because they're 24/7, and he was losing money. He was waking up every 2 hours. It destroyed his marriage. It's just destroying his life, trading these 24-hour markets. And this is 30 something years ago. And then fast forward to 2026. The way that I learned to trade in crypto is only 24/7. That's the way that it is. And then there's all these new platforms and assets that are coming out, perps to trade tokenized stocks, where all markets are going this direction 24/7. And so it just was funny to see back then to it playing out as maybe being pushed for as the new norm. Can you talk a little bit about the evolution of markets from when you wrote that first book to where we are right now?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of tremendous changes. So let's begin with when I wrote the book. Marcus, we had pits in the future, futures, and there was no electronic trading. Stocks. So this is completely pre-electronic, and of course now it's virtually all electronic. So that's certainly a huge change. the original book, the original book was written post the advent of the beginning years of the PC,
Uh-huh.
but the people who I were interviewing had trading careers that spanned well before the advent of PCs. So you're talking about a completely different age in that respect. Now not only have PCs, you've got supercomputers, you've got multiple quant firms with hundreds of PhD mathematicians, physicists working on strategies and um, supercomputing power, AI, of course,
Yeah.
becoming more and more dominant. So the technology change, which has affected everything, certainly has affected the markets. And the biggest change are all these technology innovations.
Can you like do you think it's more difficult now to trade with this overwhelming level of access and information? It's 20 like the idea that 24/7 we're on Twitter, there's call it headline terrorism coming at you every second. Like do you think it's more difficult for these traders to operate in this new era?
First of all, the one positive thing is that traders have access to virtually anything right now.
Yeah.
So all the data, I mean, back in my early days of my career, uh, there were no like that was my own career goes back to the early '70s, but that well before PCs. So no chart screens. I go back to the
No chart
first firm
screens.
I worked for had that giant board with changing prices, and it would click every time price change. And so it was kind of a different world. And getting charts, you basically got a weekly printed chart. Uh, you had to make special efforts to get a quick delivery over the weekend, and then you would kind of have to by hand, keep it up on a daily basis. Forget intraday. Even daily was a stretch, and that was on manual and hard paper, not on screen. So kind of in that sense, nowadays you've got all the data, all the screens that you need, all the indicators, if that's what you're into, and so there's a lot more, and of course all the fundamental information. And there are other people in this new book who kind of do things that couldn't have done without access to PCs and the information they provide. So in that sense, it's kind of leveled the field somewhat. But on the other hand, as I mentioned, you have giant firms with amazing quant power competing. At the end of the whole thing, though, I'm left with one fact, and that is, I am finding traders for, let's say, for this newest book, and was true also in the book I did, the last one, Unknown Market Wizards, back in 2020. In both cases, I found traders whose track records were as good as any of the more famous wizards that I interviewed back, beginning in the late '80s. So, despite what you would think, all this more competition and greater efficiency, apparently there's enough ways left for some people to be able to achieve incredible success.
When did the bucket shop era like disappear?
I don't know. I mean, um, I think probably after the '29 crash, but I'm not sure. Um, there were all sorts of reforms that came after that. I would assume maybe bucket shops would have been in that grouping, although I don't remember for sure. Of course, the book like Reminiscences that you talk
So
about,
good.
that wasn't the bucket shop era. The interesting thing is, even though it's a complete anachronism, uh, that book is still relevant. Was relevant when I read it 30, 40 years ago. Actually, 40 years ago, I guess, and it's still relevant today. And was kind of, in a way, inspirational because when I read it, I was struck by how relevant this book, written in a different era, still was to the current world of trading. And the reason for that is because it captures important psychological aspects of trading, and human psychology doesn't change, so it remains relevant. And then my own goal when I wrote the first Wizards book was to hopefully write something that was still relevant 40 years from then, which I guess, or 60 years or 65 years, which was the case when
65 years.
after 65 years after I had read Reminiscences.
It's 65 years is unbelievable. There. Okay, so I like reading all like your old interviews. Also, I'm obsessed with the pits, but I will do that as like a different. I'll go to the rabbit hole later. There's this, you know, when I read some of these old interviews, like Paul Tudor Jones and Stanley Druckenmiller. I sort of came up in this era where people are clicking a lot in and out of trades, like often, all the time. The crypto era, 20 like I'm just like very familiar with all day, every day, sort of this like very sped up version. And when I read some of these older interviews, it feels like these traders talk about their trades as almost like the trade of the decade. Like the 80s was like 87. And they talk about like the couple defining trades of that decade. And it sort of paints this picture that I don't know if this is true or not, but in like 1980, the 70s, it was a lot slower, more calculated, and they were taking less positions. Is that accurate? Has that evolved?
Yeah, it's accurate because of a simple reason. As we mentioned, like the advent of the PC, there were no, and data even. I guess intraday data might have been available in some form, and maybe some sophisticated firm. Well, there weren't sophisticated firms back in those days. Well, maybe by the 80s, but not late 80s, but not in the 70s. So the data just wasn't there, or if it was there, it might have been only very isolated entities that had it, and so you had nothing to trade. You only had daily data. You didn't have intraday data. So once you get intraday data, you open up the possibility of much quicker trading, and of course that evolved to the point that nowadays you have quite a number of prop shops that are doing only day trading. And in fact, two of the traders in this book began in one is still with a prop shop, although I think they give them leeway to not I think they do give them leeway to hold positions longer. And the other trader basically left because he eventually saw that there was more opportunity going longer term beyond day trading, and even though he had been very successful day trading, wanted to expand to trading on longer time horizons. So, but anyway, that's the answer why there is a lot more quick trading, and some traders in this book. Well, one still trades very short term. One trader in the book, he half an hour would be a long term position, and if a trade's not working, 2 minutes would be long term.
It's crazy. I know Lucas is the one I know the most because he's on Twitter. I've been following him for a long time. His story is nuts. On the I guess the opposite of the slower paced, long horizon, mellow traders like a Paul Tudor Jones. I was at the Knicks game yesterday, and they were doing the Celebrity Row big screen jumbotron, and they showed Taylor Swift, and right behind Taylor Swift is Paul Tudor Jones on the phone, like yelling at someone. And you did okay. So you wrote the chapter with Paul Tudor Jones.
Yeah.
And in the chapter, like the market was open. And before I read your chapter, there's this like really niche Paul Tudor Jones movie called Trader.
Yeah.
You've seen it before? It's
yeah, I've seen it, and I think if I know this correctly, I believe he tried to buy up and burn all copies.
Yes, I'm trying to get a copy right now. Nobody can find it. There's one that sold on eBay.
I think he did a good job at destroying copies.
There was someone on eBay like 15 years ago that sold one for like $2,000. I'm trying to track it down, but it's on YouTube. I hope he doesn't get it. I downloaded it. I hope he doesn't get it removed. But it's like an hour long, and I mean he's nuts. Like he's screaming and he's calling in orders.
Yeah.
He's in the middle of an interview. He's calling it. Then he puts the shoes on. He has like the special tennis shoes, and he just like does the whole. It feels very modern, right? Where in like classic pits where he's screaming and he's barking at people. And so you interviewed him in person.
Yeah.
While the market was open.
Yeah, while he's doing all that. So I'm interviewing him and he's shouting out, buy 300s semi-crude, sell 200, and he has phones in those days. He had, we had the pits and he had phones to each of the major pits. And so he'd be shouting orders to the various pits while we were doing this interview, and I had asked him, look, we can do this after the market closes, because I knew it would be better to do it that way. But no, he said, come whatever it was, 1 o'clock or whatever the time was. And I did. And so we had the interview while he's doing all this trading at the same time. And people are bringing him in messages, phones are ringing, kind of bedlam. But that's kind of at least in those days, that was the way he traded.
Is he focused during this? Like he's locked in on your interview?
Yeah. 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 I think he's a multitasker in that sense. Yeah.
You also you wrote this thing. I just read it, so it's like fresh in my mind that he was like super paranoid about answering your questions, and he was giving you like bizarre. What was that, like a normal thing?
No, he was, well, he was paranoid. I believe, and this is a long time since I wrote I believe because he was bearish. I think he was looking. No, I mean, this was, I interviewed him was post the crash of '87. But he was paranoid. I forget why, about saying something that he could be, maybe it must have been something about being short, or thinking, planning to be short, because shorts are always scapegoats. If I remember correctly, that might have been what it was, but I don't remember for sure. If you read it recently, you probably know better than I do.
I think he was I was confused though, because I'm like, thinking how long it's going to take for this thing to get published. It's like, it's not getting broadcasted to the world in a week or so. But I have a question for you on the older trader topic, which is like, okay, I'm a big NBA fan, and in the modern era of basketball, there's this like running bit on the internet, which is that like we're done with the 90s. And so the whole bit is like the younger generation will upload footage and clips of the 80s players and the 90s players and compare them to the Steph Currys and the LeBrons, and talk about how they don't look that skilled, the game is slower, they don't look that athletic, they don't look that good. The modern era, they shoot better, they're quicker, they handle it better, they move better. And it's always this like, it's like the LeBron over Jordan argument. And so I'm curious, like these 80s, 70s, like 90s legends of traders, the Paul Tudor Jones, like, and some of them are still going and doing great, but maybe some of the ones that stopped in the 80s or like peaked in the 80s, peaked in the 70s. Could you throw these guys in the modern era of 24/7 and 100 screens and information coming at you at all times? And could they perform equally as well in the modern era? Better, worse? Like, how do you stack up modern era versus old era?
Yeah, I think it's really a personality question. So, none of those traders, they wouldn't, even if they were in an era like the modern one where you can trade, in seconds if you want to. That's not their style. They wouldn't do that. Druckenmiller, I mean, he still trades his own account, I guess, but he doesn't trade that way. I mean, he still probably trades the same way he always traded, which was to have fundamental ideas that he believes strongly in, and then he does look at charts and stuff like that for timing purposes and for risk management purposes, but his style hasn't changed. And so I think every person develops a style that's comfortable to them. And by definition, all the traders in my early books were in an era where you couldn't trade in that super fast fashion during their main part of their trading career, and therefore that wouldn't have been one of the options. So they all developed styles that were not like that. So there were no traders that are comparable at that, in that first book.
The first time I ever heard Stanley Druckenmiller talk was like, I mean, I'm not afraid to say it. It was like a year ago, and it was in I think a Morgan Stanley interview, and I went back and I was reading your chapter, so I kind of like got the front dated, read all the lore, And then I read your chapter, and he's like 33 in your
Yeah.
interview. And so he had, from the way I understand it, when you had Druck, he had done incredibly well, and it was after all the 87 stuff, and he done very, very, very well. But I don't think that he was like, as regarded as he is right now. I don't know. I kind of look at him as the GOAT, at least as I understand it. Did you know at the time when you were speaking to him at 30s, 33, 35, whatever, that he just had it at a level that maybe some of the other guys didn't?
No, I mean, I thought he did like other people I've interviewed. So he had enough. Everybody, by the time I interview these people, they've had enough success.
Yeah.
They may not have been as big as they are in later years, like somebody like Kovner or Jones or Druckenmiller, because they had continued on through their whole career, but they had still established records of 10 years plus. So it wasn't, nobody was a flash in the pan. Although Paul was an exception. I interviewed Paul when his track record was only about, I think, 5 years old. But he had like 5 years of 100%, 3-digit returns, and that was good enough.
You feel pressure when you interview somebody that your stamp is gonna live like you solidify people pretty strongly when you interview them in the book.
Solidify in what way?
As in, they were a wizard in the market, wizards, and so if they go on to do incredible, it's like of course, and if they go on to do really
Yeah,
poorly,
because that wasn't true in the first. When I wrote the first Market Wizard book, it was just another book, right? So over time, as I've done more of these books, and many of these traders kind of became very famous, more famous, and so I guess that occurred. And I think, well, nowadays, or even the last couple of books I've done, the Market Wizard books, it's almost unusual for me, almost unheard of, I would say, to interview somebody who hasn't already read my books and some of my books. And in many cases, I interview people who got into the business because they read my books. So it's come full circle.
it has come full circle. One of the things you talk about a lot, and you mentioned it earlier, is like, okay, so when we talk about this idea of like edge decay, I feel like I've looked at a bunch of traders and they sort of represent a specific era, right? Like, this guy dominated the 2020 cycle, and then 5 years later, the game has changed a little bit, and they're just not doing as well. Or they were really good for like one regime or at one specific time and place. So I'm curious, how do you think of like eras in traders and markets, and why is it the case that a specific trader will dominate one era and then not be able to repeat the success that they had in future markets?
Basically, depending on the approach, but many approaches will only work in certain market environments. So, I mean, I just think in the current book, there's one trader who's kind of does phenomenal in 2021, but continues to use the same approach in 2022, and it's disastrous because the market has changed. So, so a lot of it has to do with the changed market environment. And what I'm trying to find people who will sort of more than survive, who will do well or still be around or still continue to move up in equity through different environments. That's what I'm trying to do, and it not always the case, but hopefully most times it is.
Yeah, it makes sense. And like I've always, when I first started trading, I feel like one of the most intimidating aspects of it is, everyone talks about edge. This word gets used so much, edge. And I think I spent a lot of time afraid to take positions because I felt as if I needed to have this like mythical definitive edge that I could point at and say, I'm guaranteed to be right, or I'm guaranteed to win in this spot because I know blank that everybody else doesn't know. Even if you're like hundreds of traders, how do you think about that idea of edge, but then more specifically, like how definitive it is, like how tangible is it for specific people versus others?
Yeah. So yeah, there has to be some edge because otherwise trading is like gambling because market can go up, can go down, right? And if there's no reason anybody would be right unless they have some approach that is better than random. And everybody's got transaction costs. Even if commissions are zero, there's still transaction costs. So because of slippage in the trade, both getting in and getting out. So over time, you'll bleed transaction costs if you have no edge. So you need some sort of an edge. Now, an edge doesn't mean that you're right all the time or even right. In fact, most of the traders I interview are wrong more than half the time. And in many cases, we're wrong more than 70% of the time. The difference is when they're right, they make a lot more than they lose when they're wrong. In almost all cases, although not all. So now, as far as what an edge is, it varies. It depends. It's so let me think of a few examples from this book. So one trader who has not, and all these traders, I should say, in this next generation market, was this next generation, all the traders are solo traders. These are guys trading in their own home. They're not managing money. They're not in a firm. A couple of them, one of them is with a prop firm, but he's still trading on his own. So you think one of them who has not had a losing month, literally, he's like became super expert on merger arm, kind of knows every nuance about it. And so he's kind of developed a methodology where he doesn't lose. I mean, he has losing days, but he has no losing months. Now he doesn't make a ton of money, but he earns a decent living trading because his trading is basically his monthly income. So his edge is his knowledge and expertise in that area of merger arb is superior to the general market. For example, like you mentioned, one example, a merger deal comes out and the market rallies, and he knows that that particular company is domiciled in Maryland instead of Delaware. Now, that would mean nothing to just virtually the entire rest of the universe, except he knows that if it's in Delaware, the merger is much more likely to go through. And in Maryland, it's easy for the company to block it if it wants to. So he has that piece of information, not because he's got inside information. He's just done so much research. He knows all this stuff. So that's an example of an edge.
He never had a losing month.
What's that?
He's never had a losing month.
Literally.
It's insane. Are you like numb to these unbelievable metrics and stats and audits that you see at this stage?
Yeah, I'm numb in the sense that I've interviewed a lot of people that have done it. Like in this book in particular, you would think that it'd be very hard to find people with extraordinary records, given all the competition and efficiency out there. But there are two guys in this book who one who took who kind of went up to. They're at last I've communicated with them. They were both near $500 million. One started with 40,000. The other had worked for firms and had accumulated several million before he went on his own, and then turned that into $500 million. But that's still. But take the guy who took 40,000 into $500 million. That's pretty extraordinary.
Do you believe this idea that a trader can have like an intuitive edge? Like, we call it the ball tingle, that there's no way to define it. They could define it if they tried, but they just, like the gut feeling actually is a thing that works for traders.
I do believe that. I do believe it. I've seen it, and it's true. And they develop now gut feel and intuition. These things are kind of misunderstood. What they really are, we're talking about traders who have been enmeshed in the markets for decades, and this group is younger, so maybe not multiple decades, but a decade or longer, and they've kind of devoted the hours they keep in terms of trading and research is like mind-boggling. So if you spend that much exposure to the market, to anything, and you have some sort of, and they have a passion for it. That's important. They have a passion for it. So they not only have this passion, but they then spend all this time. And when you combine those things, you get a lot of experience. And by experience, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of instances. Now, that's not all recallable in the conscious mind. But what I think really goes on is they've seen so many things that when something similar is kind of lining up, they may not say, oh, this is like XYZ or whatever, but somewhere in their subconscious that ticks, oh, this is just like that other situation. And that's what the intuition is. So I would term it, intuition is subconscious experience.
You said and you've seen it. I mean, you've seen it probably many times.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I'm obsessed with the pits. Okay, that Paul Tudor Jones movie is one of my favorites ever.
Yeah.
I just missed the era. Okay, I missed the era. I was born too late. How different? So you did some of these interviews. I mean, you lived it, but you also did some interviews live in the pits as well. How different?
No, I didn't do it with the pit, but I did interviews with traders who were pit traders. Somebody like Tom Baldwin, who was at the time the largest single trader in the T-bond pit.
The largest.
So I did interview them in the pit, but I did interview people who had experience. And in the Paul Tudor Jones chapter, there's a great story in there that occurs, what his worst trade ever, which with the background, the story is in the background of the pit.
How different is it in that era when you are actually like boots on the ground trading that live? Like, also tell that story as well. I don't mean to ask you, tell the story first, and I'll ask the question after.
Yeah, well, it's a great story. It's a great story for many reasons. But anyway, so Paul's down on the cotton floor, and he's trading cotton, the cotton market. And just for background for your listeners, cotton, the old crop, the last old crop month is July, and then October is kind of the beginning of the new crop. And July, because it's the last of the old crop, and the stocks that are deliverable are kind of an important effect, can be an important factor. And what the market had done in that particular situation was, for many months, had been going, after a decline, had been going sideways. And then one day it breaks to a new low and bounces right back in. Now, for those of your listeners who are chart oriented, and this is the kind of thing I've written about, not so much in the market. Well, I've written in the Market Wizards books as well as some analytical books. But when a market kind of breaks to a new low and then rallies right back, that often could be a bottom, called a bear trap. And so Paul kind of sees that action, and the idea is, when it finally breaks the new lows, takes out those stops, that sort of wipes out all the weak holders, and then the market can rally from there. So that's the underlying premise, and it happens more often, and it happens better than 50% of the time probably. But anyway, so he sees this and he says, okay, it's a bottom, and he buys, he has an order go in for a large number of contracts, which is more than he should buy given the amount of money he's managing. It represents a very large portion of his of his investment. And at that same moment, from across the pit, a broker flies across everybody else with his hands raised, saying sold. And that broker is the broker for the cotton merchant who owns most of the deliverable supply. And in that second, Paul knows he's dead. The rest of the pit knows he's dead. And he tries to sell some, but within seconds, the market locks limit down. And it doesn't trade for the next few days. Every day it opens limit down. And by the time he can get out, he's like lost 65% of his money, of his investor money, his investor money. And he came to the brink of quitting the business. And that was the incident that instilled money management. After that, he kind of questioned everything about it, and whether he would even continue in the business, and said, why am I making my life? Why do I put myself in this position? Why don't I make my life more matter of pleasure than pain. And from that point on, sort of became almost religious about money management.
Do you think somebody like that could ever actually quit?
Yeah, well, I mean, I have no reason to. He said that he came very close to quitting. What I do encounter in every book, really, and especially in this last book and the first Marcus's book, is people failing multiple times early on before they finally succeed. And it is a quality of a number of these traders that they continue on when most people would long have quit.
It just feels like the temperament, like how would I mean, I've thought about it, like how would I what because people always ask like what's the number, right? And I would imagine, I mean, you interview some guys that have extraordinary returns, and it's like, why are you still going? Right? You made 100 million, 250, $1 billion. Like, why are you like why are they still going? Why are you still going after?
And that's a great question. And in fact, in this book, some of these people who've made 100 million or several hundred million or whatever are actually questioning that. They're actually, one is kind of struggles with that question of wanting to quit and certainly paring down this trading. In fact, and two of them are at that stage where they've sort of wanted to quit, but are still trading. They can't give it up totally, but do want to. They've moved on to do other things and do recognize that, hey, is this what do I really want to do this for the rest of my life full time? And so that question does occur to people. It's never the money. I mean, once you get certainly once you get beyond 100 million, what's the point, right? It's not the money.
Wow. Would you tell the Paul Tudor Jones story and the guy comes swooping across with the sold?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a bit of color you can't get in electronic trading.
no, you can't. How like what's the scene like? Like so everybody knows what everybody's in generally. Like if you're taking super public positions, like people around you are aware of like, Paul is in this or like this guy just sold. Like how does the scene work as far as knowing who's in what and what they're trading?
Well, back in the early days, I mean, people knew, like in this case, who the broker is a broker for, and that was a good example of how there's some information. Also, people talk about in that early first Marco Wiz's book. I think there were a couple of people I interviewed that talked about just the sound of the pit and how it would sometimes grow and crescendo was itself kind of a signal. So it was like a living, breathing thing, and just the visceral element of being there and hearing the sound change. It was itself a signal.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Because you could hear like, prices going up and it's getting louder. There's like strength behind the move.
You could tell in the noise level and a sudden shift in the noise level that something was going on.
Do you think guys like Paul, like, because they talk about Paul as the like macho gunslinger and he's in there screaming. Do you think it's an enhancer to like be in that environment, boots on the ground in the pit with his style, or is it like a distraction?
No, I mean, it depends. It depends for whom. In fact, Michael Marcus tried to be tried to be on a trade from the floor, but he was a very shy, quiet guy, and he had trouble, anybody hearing him or seeing, so he couldn't function in that environment.
He was your first boss, or you worked with him at your
So Marcus, this is kind of an interesting and lots. I'm a kind of believer that life is very heavily influenced by fortune, good and bad, and a lot of what happens to us is not because of what we necessarily do, but just of chance. So it so happened that my first job out of graduate school was this analyst position, and the day I came in for my first day, the fellow cleaning out his desk and leaving to become, in quotes, a trader was Michael Marcus. And so we chatted a little bit, and he at that in those days was still staying in New York, and so we ended up kind of getting together, every month or two or so for lunch and spoke and communicated. And then he went out to Malibu as a trader, and that's where I eventually interviewed him in those days. But anyway, so that was, I kind of knew him just by that chance luck. Now, through Michael, he told me about Ed Secoda, who he considered was the best trader he knew. And this coming from somebody who in those days had turned 30,000 into 80 million. So you kind of pay attention. So he led me to Secoda. And then the book, of course, ended up being, because I think, because I, and also Marcus hired Bruce Covner. There you go, three people. So in that book. So, and so a core element of that first book was due that I, by chance, I met Michael Marcus on the day I came in for my first day of work. So a lot of luck in that.
The last thing I read before I got on here today was the Ed Secoda chapter. And in the, I don't know, in the very beginning, you tell the story that you had a time crunch, you only had a couple hours,
Yeah,
and
right.
he tells you, like, I knew you were going to stay the whole day. You stay the whole day. And you're sitting down talking to him 5 minutes in, and he's like, how many minutes fast is your watch? And you're like,
Yeah.
what? Like, I just met this guy an hour ago, and that's like a thing that I've done for a while is keep the fast watch. And he just like
Yeah.
snipes it.
No,
Are you like, have you ever been like intimidated of some of these guys that you go to their
no,
house?
I'm not intimidated, but I mean, I tell that in the book because he's a very perceptive guy. And sort of in the first few minutes of our, well, just a phone conversation, and in our early conversation in person, he kind of pegged me for, and I am the type of guy who's kind of runs just like late, not late, but just like to the last second, sort of make every every meeting exciting. If you get there in time, I don't know. So, but he assessed that on me, and yeah. So I know as far as intimidation, I recognize that. Look, I am. First of all, forget about on a trading side. I mean, a trading side, I never consider myself in the same ballpark, and I don't consider myself per se a trader. So in that sense, I recognize, hey, it's just like if you're writing a sports book and you're interviewing sports people, obviously
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you're in the same league, right?
Yeah.
Because you're interviewing sports stars. So the same thing. And yeah, but the intimidation, if there were going to be any, would be on the intellectual side, where I'm not a dumb guy, but I'm not a genius like some of the people I've interviewed, and but I still feel, but I've never been intimidated. I kind of feel that I'm always I can always hold the same level of conversation.
He turned 30,000 to 80 million.
Yeah.
This is like,
And that's not, and that's with the company he was with, this early trading firm called Commodities Corp, which was one of the very, very, very early trading firms back in the 70s and into the 80s. And they were taking out, I think, 20% a year for expenses.
whoa.
So he did that with 20% coming out every year.
Whoa. That's Bruce, Michael Marcus, and Ed. Commodities Corporation.
What's that?
The
Commodities
Corporation. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the name of the firm.
They wrote about it in More Money Than God. Yeah.
Yeah, it was probably in there too. Yeah, so More Money Than God and me through my books, we end up obviously covering a lot of the same territory in some cases. Yeah.
Okay, this is kind of like a cliche, but I have to ask it. I'm sure it's probably the most asked question you ever get, but like, who is your Mount Rushmore of like pound for pound the best traders that you think stack up against anybody? Like if you had to pick like 4 or 5.
It's hard to say best because there people excel in different ways. I mean, kind of for longevity and pure return to risk power, somebody like Ed Thorpe, who ran 2 hedge funds, but just take the first hedge fund, 19 years, 3 losing months, each of those losing months less than 1%. that's kind of like mind-boggling. The guys in this book who kind of took a smaller sum of money and made $500 million, that's mind-boggling. I mean, there are a lot of, and in every book, there's people who just have extraordinary, Marcus, as I mentioned in the first that we mentioned from the first book, and then somebody like Stan Druckenmiller who kind of goes 30 years with approximately 30% a year. So they all, in their own ways, there are a lot of traders that are spectacular.
Who do you think had the highest peak, like the highest prime over like a couple year period?
The hottest,
Like the brightest peak, like who had the best prime of, like, even if it was a couple years, like forget longevity, forget down years, like a couple year era where it was just like unlike anything you've ever seen.
well, I wouldn't say unlike anything I've ever seen, because again, in every book,
You've seen it.
there's some traders who
Yeah.
have that, right? So, yeah.
Wow. Okay, one more thing I want to ask you about is there's a couple extra, I forget which book it's in, but you talk about this efficient market theory,
Yeah.
and you put this quote in there. I don't know if I'm gonna mess it up. I don't know if it's exactly true, where the the chance of the 1987 Black Monday is equivalent to picking a random atom out of the universe and then spinning around, closing your eyes, and picking the same atom a second time.
Right.
Which is crazy. Do you think as time goes on and like digital trading advances, math advances, AI advances, the quant HFT advances, we get closer to this idea of like efficient markets? Can it ever actually be reached?
Well, I would have thought so. And if you had asked me, maybe 10 years ago, I said, no, ultimately. But like here we are, and I just did this book and still have the most extraordinary records that I've encountered, or at least as amazing as any I've encountered. So apparently we're not there, and these type of records don't happen by luck. I mean, sure, anybody can have a good 3 years, and especially in a bull market, and that doesn't prove anything. But once you get decade-long plus records through bull and bear markets, and people have, and you start talking about return risk statistics in some of these cases that are, people say, oh, his Sharpe ratio is above 1. And I don't, by the way, I don't use the Sharpe ratio. This is a different subject. Yeah. But since most people are familiar with it, I'll talk in terms of the Sharpe ratio. But people say, oh, the Sharpe ratio is above 1. It's a big deal. And the people that I interview in some of these books can have, well, if not the Sharpe ratio, but let's say return risk measures that are equivalent, but don't, the fault of the Sharpe ratio is it penalizes big gains, which works against the people I interview.
Yeah.
So, but if you have a return risk measures like an adjusted Sortino ratio that doesn't penalize big gains, then if you think in the terms of like 1 being, oh, above 1 is really good, we're talking about people of 10 or 15. They're like they're not outliers. It's just like way beyond. It's if you're thinking in terms of the solar system, we're not talking about people on Mars or Jupiter. We're talking about Pluto and beyond. They're just completely off the scale in terms of return risk. So you don't get that if the markets were efficient. So and I'm not finding, I didn't find the only 9 people in the world who have this. I mean, this is just these are people we came up with, and sure, there's tons of others that I don't know exist. So yeah, I don't think the markets are there yet. And will AI get there? Well, I'm not even there. I don't think so, because there's a big difference in applying AI to things like sciences versus to trading. Because when you're dealing with science, any science, physics, biology, whatever, you're talking about things like drug development or things of that nature. Or weather forecasting, things of that nature. You're dealing with physical properties, and while they may be something like weather forecasting, particularly longer term, is extraordinarily complex, and while it has that complexity, the physical laws are all fixed. They don't change. All physical laws stay the same. Same for biology. I mean, maybe biology evolves, but essentially in any point in time, biological kind of reactions work the same way. So whereas with trading, you're not dealing with a set of facts. What in trading, yeah, sometimes let's say you get a bullish, you get a unemployment report that is the more employment than expected. It's better than expected. Sometimes it's bullish for the stock market. Sometimes it's bearish, and literally complete opposites. You see both cases. So the fact that and you can do the same thing for almost any type of input. And so what an input means for how the market will react is always changing, and it's not a fixed law. And I think that it introduces a level beyond complexity. It's not the complexity so much as it is the inability to define what the relationships
Yeah.
are. So I think that will hold back AI from solving the market in a way as well. But when you apply it to anything that is science related, with enough learning, enough power, it can break things that break problems and come up with solutions that would have been unreachable otherwise. But I think trading is different.
It's crazy, even in Reminiscence's Jesse Livermore, the conclusion is that he doesn't think it's possible to beat the market over a prolonged time. Like that was the conclusion all the way back then, which is
Well, no, well, he had a, Livermore is one of the greatest traders of all time, and I think in terms of today's dollars, I think he made billions several times, but he also lost it, and so he had a problem with risk. As great a trader as he was, he had a big problem with risk management. He may have had it for runs, but then he somehow always blew it, and so he made the fortune, lost it, made a fortune, lost it. So if he was rigorous throughout on risk management, no, I think he would have been successful throughout. It's just that, and it happened. I saw it in every book I write. It happens at least sometimes, even to great traders. And in this book, the trader I mentioned who turned 40,000 into $500 million, there were a couple of instances along the way where he broke his own rules and took giant losses. And interestingly, after we had finished the chapter, I get an email from him saying, "Look, I want to be upfront. I don't want people to think I'm just kind of touting my own horn. I just had my worst loss ever." And we had another follow-up interview on that worst loss ever. And that one, I think, finally gave him religion, and he instituted automatic controls to prevent himself from doing that again. And Livermore could have presumably have done the same thing. So no, I think it is possible to be successful throughout. And someone like Druckenmiller has been for a long career, and other people, many other people as well.
why don't you like Sharpe ratio? Is it because
Oh.
it penalizes the big gains?
Yeah. So the Sharpe ratio, without getting into the math of it, bottom line, it's return over standard deviation, which is a measure of volatility. And actually, that's a whole different subject, because volatility itself is not necessarily a good measure of risk, although it can be strongly correlated many times. But in any case, it penalizes volatility. Now, what that means is I've interviewed traders whose records look like lose 3%, lose 2%, lose 4%, lose 1%, make 50%. That Sharpe ratio will hate that record. It will super penalize it. But and if you take a track record where you could have every month it changes by not that much, but you get this period where the Sharpe ratio, let's say, of a market where like a bear market in stocks, where it's going down, it's you can have a huge cumulative loss, and it's may not even show up as bad on the risk penalization,
Got it.
and somebody was a giant return. So I don't like the Sharpe ratio because it penalizes upside volatility the same as downside volatility. And I've never met an investor who felt uncomfortable or complained that if they made too much money, who called or invested with a manager and he made a huge return, they called to complain about the volatility. Never happens.
What measurements do you like the most outside of like pure
Okay, so
profit?
there's two. I personally use two. One is the Sortino ratio, which is the return over. It's similar to the Sharpe, but it only uses down months. So, and I should say here that virtually everybody calculates it wrong because the statistic only uses losing months, but the typical way most services report it is they include all months, which makes it very biased, which means that the Sortino will always end up looking better than the Sharpe, even for traders whose returns are, even when their losses are worse than their worst losses are worse than their best gains. Because of this, they're only using half the data to dilute the return. So the way I do it is, without getting into the math, if you multiply the way most people, I call it the adjusted Sortino. If you multiply the way most people report it, if you multiply that by the square root of 2, it then becomes comparable to the Sharpe ratio without the bias, without this penalization of upside volatility. And then I have a measure which I kind of use, which I don't know if anybody used it before or whatever. I've been using it for decades now, I guess. And I wrote about it decades ago, but it's called the gain to pain ratio. And it's simply the sum of, you can do it on monthly data, you can use it on daily data, but let's say monthly data. You sum all the returns, and then you divide it by the sum of all the losses, the absolute value of all the losses. And so that statistic penalizes every loss you have, sort of diminishes your statistic, but only the losses. And if you have a lot of losses, then it'll show up in that denominator. So it's very simple, just the sum of all the returns divided by the absolute value of the sum of the losses.
I'm gonna have to try that. Thank you. How much in your day-to-day life are you thinking about markets if you're not working on books?
Yeah, so really, it depends. So ironically, the last few months, or maybe even since January, I've been normally I don't trade a lot, but the last few months I've been trading more than typical. So just if I get involved in trading and I don't have other things I'm not writing another book right now and I've got more time, then I start trading, and if it's going okay, then I may be spending more time. So recently it's been every day because I've been trading, but there are long stretches where hardly at all. So it depends. If I'm busy with other stuff, I may not be trading at all. And if I hit a losing streak in trading, I'll stop, and I'll walk away from it, and I may not trade it all for a while until I feel like going back to it again. And so it really depends when you catch me. It's not a major point in my life. It's one element of my life.
What are you trading right now?
Well, right now I'm trading mostly. There are times where I traded almost all futures. And, recently I've been trading almost all stocks. Although at the moment now I'm trading futures, equity futures, and pretty much as an easy way when I want to, if I want to hedge or to go net short. So I've been trading that as well, shorter term.
Are you a bull right now?
No, I went from leverage long at the beginning of this week to now with my futures position that I put on today. I'm now, I think, net short. So I've gone from over 100% long to net short. But that could, literally that changed in a few days, right? That's a pretty big change. So what I'm saying now is good for today. I kind of respond to what the market's doing.
one more markets question, and I'll give you a wrap. I'm curious what you think of this evolution where it seems like everybody is trading things like Robinhood, and then emergence
Yeah.
of like crypto and these alternative markets where everybody's retail, everybody is trading, and it feels like a trend that's only going to accelerate. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think there's more trading because there's something in our society, and also I think in the younger generation, that is inclined, that is attracted to not just trading specifically, but the whole idea of betting on stuff, right? So prediction markets, gotten huge. They'll get bigger. Uh, that just seems to be part of our society at the current moment. This and sports betting. So there are three things, and they're all related. The thing that's well, I guess the prediction markets are also, people can have an edge. They're very good about assessing politics or world developments or whatever. There are people who are particularly better at than other people. So, like trading, you can get an edge. Is sports betting too? Some people are really are expert enough. They get a little bit of an edge in sports betting, enough to cover the bid-ask spread on that. There are people. Those are all kind of one kind, where it's possible to kind of come ahead if you have enough of an expertise, as opposed to something which is just dumb, like casino gambling, which is just, the odds are against you. The longer you play, the surer you'll lose. So I would distinguish that. But those other types of endeavors have the possibility to come out ahead, and apparently that's a great attraction to people.
Have you ever thought about an alternative market wizards, sports betting, prediction markets?
No, no, no. I haven't. I guess I've got enough on the trend, and the trading side to me is more interesting.
Yeah.
Prediction markets are interesting. Sports, I'm not enough of a sports fan. I'm not a sports fan per se, so that's not a natural attraction for me.
Okay.
Although I suppose somebody could do, if there are some market wizards out there, or sports wizards out there with long-term betting records. So I guess that could be a book. It won't be written by me though.
It won't be written. Maybe co-author in your horizon. But Jack, we're over an hour. You actually stayed an hour and 7 minutes. Man, thanks for coming on. I'm a huge fan. I know you probably get a lot from a lot of traders, but you're a huge inspiration for myself, and you're a huge inspiration for a lot of people that watch the streams, traders everywhere. So on behalf of that entire community, thank you for all that you've done, and thank you for coming on the stream.
Yeah.
We have the book here, Market Wizards Next Generation. I'll put your links everywhere, Amazon, everywhere they can buy it. Congratulations on the new book. Can you give us a sign-off finance trading centric book recommendation list?
A book of actually recommended books.
Yes.
Okay, so I have to preface this by saying that, oddly enough, I rarely read trading books. I don't read many trading books, but I did put together a list on Quora of books, recommended books, which are related to trading. In some cases, trading, but they're not per se what people think of as trading books necessarily. But my list of recommended books, which I did like 5 years ago or so, and that's on Quora. I guess if you put my name,
Okay.
searchable. But
I'll go find.
I guess I suppose if you Google Quora, Jack Schwager recommended books, maybe that comment will pop up.
I'll go. I'll hunt it down and share it. But
And then you can put a link to it.
Okay, I'll put a link to it. Anything else you want to sign off with? Leave us with.
Yeah, I'll leave your audience with one thing that I think is absolutely 100% correct advice, and that is the most important thing you can do is protect your capital, and you have to be religious about having some sort of risk management to make sure that no single trade can take you out. I'll leave you with that.
Paul Tudor Jones mode. Jack, you're an inspiration, man. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for your
Sure.
time. I look forward to getting through this book, and have a great rest of your day, man.
Okay, it was fun. Thanks.
All right,
Bye.
brother. Ah, that's the GOAT, man. Wow. That just is the GOAT, dude. I know it's not the most alpha conversation, but that's the fucking GOAT, bro. He had Stanley Druckenmiller in the pits, bro. Paul Tudor Jones in the my God, that's the GOAT. I've never used this app before. Thanks, Jack. You're a legend, man. You're a fucking legend, dude. Absolute legend. Absolute just legend, bro. Just the GOAT. Book list. Thank you. Let's see. What does he have on here? Let's see what we've read. Okay. Reminiscences of Stock Operator. Iconic. Fooled by Randomness. This is one that I should read. Frank read this. Liar's Poker by Michael Lewis. Never heard of it. The Big Short. Whoa. I didn't know it was a book. We should totally read that. Wow, I would love to read that book. More Money Than God. Personally, I'm not crazy about the title. I love the title. Fortune's Formula. Never read it. The Quants by Scott Powers. Never read it. Option Volatility and Pricing. We Trade Perps. Predictability Irrational by Dan Arley. Behaviorals Economist Entertaining. Nice. When Genius Failed. What I Learned by Losing $1 Million. That's a sick title. A Fool and His Money. Diary of a Professional Commodity Trader by Peter Brandt. Peter! Wow. 8 years ago. What do you say about Reminiscences of a Stock Operator? Classic book is the narrative told from the perspective of the narrator, widely assumed to be Jesse Livermore. The book so perfectly captures the mind of a trader that I read the book nearly 40 years ago, and many readers assumed it was actually written by Jesse Livermore. Having done some research on that matter, I wrote the foreword for the 27th anniversary edition. Whoa. I can assure you that Lefebvre was a real person who was a journalist and author. He wrote some other market-related books. One I would recommend is a book of short stories. Wall Street Stories, a book for which I wrote the introduction for the modern edition. My personal favorite is a collection, A Lady and Her Bonds. A response that was apparently shared by readers at the time as well. Wow. Jack Schwager. What a fucking legend, man. That was awesome. Oh, that was awesome. TG, you got to read Liar's Poker. Okay, I will. I will read it. I will read it, actually. All right, let's check it on the market real quick. Damn, my voice is fried. Where are we, ladies and gentlemen? Wow. Up since the stream started. That's insane. Hype, good. Zcash, not that interested. Gold, copper, green. Everything green. Everything green. Well, we'll see how it holds. Our war situation. We'll see how it holds. I'm not really sure that I trust it, but what are you supposed to do other than take it at generally face value here? I guess we have to sit. I haven't been on Twitter. Have I missed anything on Twitter? Let's do a quick check-in. Sorry, I was like kind of doing something. Him being net short is interesting. Yeah, I didn't really want to ask him if it was before or after the ceasefire. Still in sweet greens? I never was. Early reports indicate that Iran's engaged a vessel, possibly a U.S. surface combatant, while it was transiting Strait of Hormuz. That's not great. Okay. Bro, oil nuked on that. I'm confused. They attacked a U.S. vessel? Iran's engaged a vessel. Possibly a U.S. surface combat. Let's see, oil. Market doesn't seem to give a fuck. Is right. I don't want to start asking about crypto because I didn't know what he was going to say, to be honest. I didn't want to, like, catch him off guard. But that guy fucking rocks. Yeah, so I guess we leave with this, my dear friends. My dearest, most dearest friends on the planet Earth is Ansem and SpaceX. Did he tweet about it? Oh, they're live.
XRP is so funny.
I'm short Ethan. I'm short XRP. I am. But yeah, if I was gonna trade this, I would trade SpaceX. To be honest, I might just take this right now. So it's traded like sideways and down pretty much since the launch on Hyperliquid. This low here at 160, it broke beneath it, and then it reclaimed this low. This is typically what you see at like bottoming.
This is the exact Paul Tudor Jones setup, by the way. Range broke it, came back into it, then he slammed, and it just went.
Patterns on the low time frame. So if I was going to try and long this the way I would long this, I probably would. If I'm longing it right here, my stop would be underneath this low right here, like it's like 158. And
that's the exact Paul Tudor Jones trade.
And probably targeting like,
yeah, some people in the chat are asking too right now, how do we get to this? Is this on Bullpen? Yeah, as you can see in the top left corner of the screen, you can actively trade SpaceX right now on Bullpen.
Yeah, this is on Bullpen. So app.bullpen.fi should be very easy to navigate to. If you go to the trade page.
And it's all supported by Hyperliquid, yeah?
Interesting. That's crazy. That's the same setup. Like, that's like exact same setup. I'm curious if brokers will run into volume issues tomorrow. No, I don't think so. Volume issues, like too much or too much, right? No, I don't think so. I don't really know that. I don't really know how that works, to be completely. Calvin's on a space right now. No, we're gonna fade that. We are gonna fade that. No, I don't think it'll be a problem. I think tomorrow's gonna be absolutely crazy. But we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. I don't know when the first tick is gonna go live. I kind of would like to be live on stream when it happens. Not 9:30. I think it's gonna be like noonish. I don't know. It's a Friday. Fridays are weird anyways. And so I might just spark up when it goes live. Depends what I'm doing. Let me try to see what I could do tonight. And figure out if we could do that. Just do like an emergency. Yeah, usually markets are pretty fucking dead at noon, but we could do like a little emergency spark. Something like that. What's the CoffeeZilla video? Probably not gonna do it, but the $200,000 missing Lego. Oh, this is a crazy story. Thread by Asteroid. Poor retail gonna get farmed on IPO. Buy maxing instead. Yeah, nice. Nice suggestion, my friend. I mean, give me a final take. What are you doing? SpaceX IPO. Buy, sell, nothing. What are you doing? You buying it? Are you selling it? Are you doing nothing? What are you doing? That's the quickest ban I've ever seen. Nothing. Well, we're going to see. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to try to go live maybe. We'll see what happens. Regardless, we're going to cover it. We're going to cover it the best. We're going to watch everything. We're going to digest everything, and we're going to do what we can do to do with it. It was a crazy week. It was an insane week. We have SpaceX, the biggest IPO in the history of capital markets, is happening tomorrow. The world will never be the same. The market will never be the same. The way that we trade will probably never be the same. And I don't know, the galaxy as it exists will exist differently after tomorrow. It's the first of 3. It is an incredible time. I would argue the greatest time in the history of the world to live through, the greatest time ever to be a trader, and the greatest time ever to wake up every day, pay attention to the markets, and do what we do, because that is what we fucking do. IPO meta starts tomorrow. Strap in, say a prayer to the old gods and the new. Do what you got to do. Make your amendments, because I think shit's about to get crazy tomorrow. Figure out, clear up whatever you got to clear up. Get ready, get together, whatever you got to get together, because it's going to be a big fucking couple months to come. And on that note, thank you so much for supporting. I'll be here tomorrow. I don't know what time, but I will be here tomorrow. I'm not entirely sure what time, but I will be here tomorrow. Protect your fucking capital. You're the man. Jack Schwager, the GOAT, Market Wizards. I'm going to read it tonight. I will catch you when I get you. I'll see you soon. Have a great rest of your day. I love you, motherfuckers. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.